最初に言っておくが、余計な真似はするなよ。おい、ちょっと気をつけてくれよ。
見て見て、これ面白い。グレ
こちら尾藤あさる、もうじきサーバールームに着くぞ。
あなたたちに新しいお仕事がある。
ー。なになに。
そんな、こいつを引き連れてネガボットでの仕事だな。
おいおい、そのせいか。
あなたに選択の余地はない。
しかしボス、元凶は全部こいつなんです。オーバークロック、元凶は全部こいつなんです。オーバークロック。
ああ、これ何。
こういった事態のために君たちを
息をお引き取りしていただきましょう。
つまりは敵を全滅させろってことじゃない。オッケー、任務了解。ロッキーゲッター、次行こうじゃない。
やるね、アメリ。腕は鈍ってないから安心だ。
お前のことは好きだ。だから警告していく。
全力を見せよ。
さて、任務開始ね。分かったか、アサル。下手くそはやられるんだぞ。
もううるさい。ややこしくなるから余計な口を挟むな。
This will be my first proper video on this channel. So welcome to Real Impact, where I talk about the types of games that are closest to my heart, character action games. The first game we're going to be discussing on this show is a little indie game called Assault Spy, made by developer Wazin, who, might I add, is just one guy. He basically made this whole game by himself, and published by NIS America. This game takes a lot of inspiration from Devil May Cry, but it comes into its own very quickly. In this game you play as two characters, Asaru Vito, a corporate spy trying to get open secrets from the company in question, Negabot, and a brash CIA agent, Amelia Smith, who has been called in to deal with the situation at hand. The aim of the game is to get to the top of the tower and face the person trying to make a hostile takeover of Negabot, Mr. Showtime, and his lovely assistant Chidori. Well, we're not trying to get into the story I'm right about now. What's the combat like? Well, I think it's really good. Both Asaru and Amelia have cool ass movesets and plenty of attacks to unlock, and they both feel unique in their playstyles, as Asaru is a cool and collected guy, while Amelia is your typical anime hot-headed tomboy. But let's get more in depth with each of them. First up, Asaru. As he's who you play first, his style is more like playing DMC with weapons. With his briefcase and his assault umbrella, Asaru is fun as he has a lot of moves on the ground, in the air, if you're running, if you're air dashing. He's got a lot of moves is the point. And also he's got some sweet perfect frame versions of his attacks as well. Out of the two characters, Asaru is more mobile as his dash feels way faster and has a lot more invincibility to it. Comboing with Asaru is great. It's fluid, it's imaginative, but because this game is made by one guy, there are some issues. Like, there are some moves that require you to hold the button to pull off the attack, but because of this, there are a lot of charge attacks whose inputs kinda, I don't really know, I would say munch off of other attacks. Yeah, munch, that's what I'll call it. Which makes it hard to do one attack without charging another, even if you don't want it, and it gets my goat so much. Okay, right here, I was gonna go on a tirade about the input munching phenomenon, but after unlocking all the moves for Asaru and Amelia, watching combo videos from this dude named Insane Penguin, you should check him out, I've come to the realization that even though the input munching does affect the gameplay, if you know how to play, you can play around it, and sometimes you can use it to your advantage. And there was also a major update around the 2nd of July of 2020. This makes it a little bit easier to swallow, and it alleviates some of my gripes. So you'll be spared my bitching for now. But I will tell you about one particular moment that's still kind of bad even after my revelations about it. The move Quick Clock, a quick teleport attack you do in the air by charging. Most of these come from charge moves, but the button you hold down to charge Quick Clock also does Headhunt, a DMC Helmbreaker style move, but the input munching will get ya if you just press the button, so you have to charge it while animations for other aerial moves are going on, so the game can register that you're holding the button and not just make headhunt come out. Why does this happen? During combat you can dodge in and out of attacks of primarily projectile based enemies, but you also have another cool feature. While your attacks are still active, any attack sent your way, ranged or melee, will be deflected, which is signified by this hit spark. So literally in this game, a good offense is the best defense. Other than your briefcase, umbrella, and I almost forgot, exploding business cards. No, you didn't hear that wrong, but honestly they're just okay. During a particular boss fight, you get something that anyone who's familiar with Kamen Rider will appreciate, the overclock watch.
これは時計。しかし時間の表示がありませんが。Start up.
After building up a charge, at any time you activate clock up and go into a hyperspeed state where you become much faster and all enemies slow down. In this state, even your dash can do damage and you're basically untouchable, but you can still take damage, so you can't scroll back. To round out Asaru's kit, you have Kanoko, a training spy who Asaru's agency is making him drag around on missions. She, most of the time, serves as a distraction, but if you hold down the button, based on if the enemy is airborne or not, she will either do an uppercut or a kick. I don't like her and I tend to forget she's there, so I don't know how effective she is. Moving on. The way you take damage in this game is kinda unique because instead of a life bar, you have hit points, which is very different from most character action games. I'm not particularly fond of this health system, but based on the flow of combat, it fits, and it means you have very limited chances to mess up before it's game over. Now we come to Amelia. Amelia is a CIA combat specialist agent from Mamerica. Not America, Mamerica. Just go with it. And in contrast to Asaru, she prefers to use her fist with her voltage storing gloves, her Galax Slayer gun, and Brave Braver spear. I didn't name this stuff. Amelia has a much smaller moveset than Asaru and is much more grounded than Asaru, so it seems more like Amelia has less depth, but no. I mean, I would have liked for her to have a bit more moves, but her smaller moveset shows her strengths and makes me like her even more, but also brings the issue of input munching, like I mentioned with Asaru, to only one move. Let's get into it. One of Amelia's core moves is the Repulsor Smash, which is basically a charged straight punch right out of a dash. And there is also a very cool attack that I, as a JoJo / Fist of the North Star fan, appreciate greatly, called Lightning Rush, that also comes out of a dash. You see where I'm going here? So if you want to do a Repulsor Smash out of a dash and you also have Lightning Rush unlocked, the moment you hit punch is the moment the game munches the input and gives you a Lightning Rush. Before I experimented and learned more, right here I was gonna say because of this, you lose access to Repulsor Smash, but actually you don't. All you have to do is start charging during some other animation, dash but not run, and during the dash, let go of the charge to do Repulsor Smash. After watching some gameplay and experimenting more, I see you can have both moves unlocked, but using Repulsor Smash kind of brings a similar issue that is similar to Quick Clock, but not as bad. Moving on. This just seems to be an issue with the way the game is programmed. I don't know if it's fixable, but enough complaining. There'll be plenty of time for that later. Let's get back to what works. Amelia has an energy system tied to her punches. Well, it gets started through her punches, and as you do damage and build up your combo, the energy goes from low to middle to high. And this voltage and hype powers Amelia's Corridor Smash and Repulsor Smash. Anyone who knows Captain Commando should recognize one of those moves. And the higher your voltage, the more powerful these attacks will be. And Corridor Smash is Amelia's best offensive and defensive move because when it's charged up, It causes massive damage and deflects every attack coming at you. It's great when that happens, and you'll need it because Amelia's dodge is not as good as Asaru's. She also has a Dante-style Royal Guard block that charges up her voltage and allows you to instant teleport attack to the enemy that hit you, and a gigantic flying kick called Ebon Thunder. Man, I really love this one. Finally, she has a super mode where her voltage bar goes above higher and into super, and in this mode you can beat into bot screens, or you can cash out the power into a super corridor smash or super repulsor smash. Getting one of these off after a huge combo takes out a bunch of guys, and it's real satisfying. At this point, I haven't said anything about the story. Well, I guess we could get into it real quick. First, you play Asaru, a corporate spy sent to steal info that his agency will probably sell to the highest bidder. But while snooping around, he has to take trainee Kanoko with him, who, as you can figure, screws up the mission and runs into, fights, and gets the info jacked by Kazama. As a punishment for failure, Asaru has to take Kanoko along again to Negabot Security Corps. On the day they go to infiltrate, all Negabot drones go crazy as Mr. Showtime and his assistant Chidori take control of the company for their own purposes. I'll let you find out why. Somewhere along the way, Asaru gets confused as a combat agent called to help by Oneda, the head researcher and manager of Negabot. You then have to beat the officer units, Diamond,
オフィサーダイヤ。
なんじゃそいつ。
何者だ。
Club,
そんなもの許すわけがないの。オフィサークローバ
Hot,
ー。愚かに程がある。オフィサーハ
and Spade.
ート。愚かに。仕方ありませんね。オフィサースペードお願いしますよ。
To gain access to kick Mr. Showtime's ass. After you beat Officer Diamond, Emilia arrives, and then you can play her campaign. But you should finish Asaru's story first, then play Emilia. There's a surprise with Emilia's campaign that's very different. So eventually you beat all officers, then you have to fight Chidori, then finally Mr. Showtime. Yes, I went for it. I tried my best. Then move on to Emilia's story for that surprise I mentioned. The story isn't the best, as always when it comes to character action games, but it's quite funny in places. But Emilia's story definitely takes it up a notch and makes it all worth it. Once again, finish Asaru's story before Emilia's. Seriously. Alright, now it's time for me to get all my gripes out of the way. Well,
Here we go!
you can map controls for each character, but at the tail end of Emilia's campaign, you unlock character switching between her and Asaru, which can be used anytime afterwards. But based on who you choose to start with, each character's controls will be based on the initial character. Why? But I can overlook this, as this is an indie game after all, and a better effort for indie character action. So it took me so long to make and edit this video, and also a bunch of being lazy, that at this point, this issue has been fixed. An update that came out on the 23rd of October has fixed this issue. So if you have unique inputs for Asaru and Emilia, when you turn on character switching, you will be able to use whatever inputs you put for each character, and they won't change based on who you choose first. So issue's fixed. Forget I even said this. The input munching. It really gets to me that this makes it awkward to use certain moves because the move has a stupid execution condition. In this case, I have no pity even if this is an indie game. Emilia. I know I said I liked her more than Asaru, but that's it. Her dodge is effectively useless compared to Asaru's. Why? Her air combos are not as good as Asaru's. Why? Her attacks don't give as much deflection as Asaru. Why? I get trying to make both characters distinct, but that doesn't have to involve making one character less useful, but I still like her, so that's something. Emilia's jump. There are air combos and air dashing and moves that come out of air dashes, but to me, at least the jump is just too heavy and you can't get as much height just by jumping like Asaru. The controls. With the way certain moves have to be done, I feel the control scheme was not really thought out the best, and mapping other moves to different buttons just moves the problem somewhere else, which kind of disappoints me with someone who's able to design a competent character action game such as this. This might play into the bane of my existence with this game: input bunching. Lock on. In this game, you have a soft lock like in Bayonetta, and you can engage a hard lock on, but it's inconsistent who it may lock on to, and it can't be changed onto another target while locked on. For a game with so much DMC inspiration, maybe some moves should have been tied to being locked on or not to alleviate input munching, or the game being programmed to differentiate between button holds and taps, again to stop input munching. Input munching. Can you tell I hate input munching? I'm not sure I've made myself quite clear. Other than that, I think anything else would be nitpicking, but I can't really think of anything else. Oh yes, the bosses. They're kind of all over the place. All of the officer units hit hard if they land a hit in the first place, but if you're good enough, it's possible to not even give them a chance to attempt to attack. See, all bosses have a guard meter under their health, which is basically just super armor. It allows them to attack and evade while still taking damage. This is the case when it comes to most bosses, but I feel it gives too much room to just bully them into the dirt and makes the fight too quick, because breaking the guard meter lets you juggle them to infinity, which can happen to most bosses. And it also makes them drop health items, as there's no other way to get hit points back during boss fights. This allows you to get massive damage with no way for them to get out of the combo until it regens, especially when it comes to the officer units. I also feel they're not as aggressive as other character action bosses in how many attacks they throw at you, but I played on normal, so that may change on higher difficulties. They also have the same voice and say the same things when you're fighting them, which is quite disappointing. Every other boss was enjoyable except Kazama. Screw Kazama. All my homies hate Kazama. He's a salty bitch, and that's all I'll say about him. Now I can say, other than what I've already said, anything else would be nitpicking, and based on the story and where it goes, the combat, despite control of foibles and all the extra stuff you get after credits like character switching mid-combo, boss rush, deathmatch, which is just wave survival, aka Bloody Palace / Alfheim for Bayo fans, and the 2 extra difficulty modes after normal, it's definitely worth any character action fans' time, if you don't mind the teensy bit of jank that is. Alright, that's it from me for this one. Peace.
最初に言っておくが、余計な真似はするなよ。おいちょっと気をつけてくれよ。
見て見て、これ面白い。グエー。
こちら尾藤あさる、もうじきサーバールームに着くぞ。
あなたたちに新しいお仕事がある。
なになに？
そんな、こいつを引き連れてネガボットでの仕事だなんて。
おいおい、人のせいか？
あなたに選択の余地はない。
しかしボス、元凶は全部こいつなんです。オーバークロック。
つまりは敵を全滅させろってことじゃない。オッケー、任務了解。特許月下、次行こうじゃない。
やるねアメリ。腕は鈍ってないから安心だ。
お前のことは好きだ。だから警告していく。
全力を見せよ。
さて任務開始ね。分かったかアサル、下手くそはやられるんだぞ。
もううるさい。ややこしくなるから余計な口を挟むな。